Every obvious solution you've ever celebrated is a trap. Most people think they know a good decision when they see one because the first result is positive. This is a profound and common error. The world is full of brilliant people defending choices that led directly to disaster because the first step felt like progress. Where do you stand? By the end of this, your answer might get more complicated. Consider British colonial Delhi. The city had a Cobra problem. A serious one. The government, using simple, direct logic, initiated a program to solve it. A first-order solution. They offered a cash bounty for every dead cobra turned in to a magistrate. The immediate results were fantastic. Citizens, motivated by the incentive, began hunting snakes with vigor. Heaps of dead cobras piled up. Officials declared the policy a success. Problem solved. But then, a strange thing happened. The number of dead cobras being turned in for the bounty kept increasing long after the wild population should have been decimated. What was going on? The bounty had changed the system. Enterprising locals had started farming cobras. They were breeding snakes in their backyards, specifically to kill them and collect the cash. The solution had created a new perverse industry. This is the moment first-order thinking hits a wall. The officials, realizing their mistake, abruptly cancelled the bounty program. That sounds logical, but decisive correction. And what happened next? The cobra farmers, now holding thousands of snakes that were suddenly worthless, did the only rational thing: they released them. The cobra population in Delhi exploded. It was now far worse than it was before the government ever tried to solve it. This pattern has a name: the Cobra Effect. It's what happens when your solution makes the original problem worse. This dynamic isn't ancient history. It's happening right now, in policies you support and decisions you make every day. That sounds convincing, but there's a problem. If every action has a hidden negative consequence, how can we ever do anything? The key is a second question, the one first-order thinkers never ask. And then what? Let's apply this to a modern debate. Rent control. The first-order problem is simple and painful. Housing is too expensive for ordinary people. The first-order solution is just as simple. Pass a law that caps the amount a landlord can charge for rent. The immediate effect is relief. A family that was about to be priced out of their home gets to stay. A politician gets to hold a press conference and talk about affordability. It feels good. It feels just. But, and then what? A landlord is a business owner. If you cap their revenue, what happens to their incentive to invest in their property? The roof leaks. The boiler breaks. The wiring is 50 years old. Previously, they would fix it to protect their asset and justify the rent. Now, with their upside gone, the calculation changes. The repair becomes a pure cost, eating into a shrinking profit margin. So the repairs are deferred, then they are forgotten. The building slowly decays, and then what? A developer looks at the city. They see a housing shortage. They have the capital to build a new apartment complex. But why would they? The risk and expense of construction are enormous. If rent control laws mean they can't charge a market rate to recoup that investment, they won't build. The capital goes elsewhere, to a city with fewer restrictions. The supply of new housing freezes. Over years, the existing housing stock deteriorates, and no new stock is created to replace it. And then what? The housing shortage gets worse, far worse. With more people competing for fewer, lower-quality apartments, a new system emerges, a shadow market. Landlords might charge illegal fees. Prospective tenants might offer huge under-the-table payments to secure a lease. The people with connections or extra cash get the apartments, the very people the law was designed to help. The poor and the unconnected are now shut out entirely, facing a more desperate situation than before. The first-order solution, meant to increase access to housing, ends up destroying it. Is this always the case? Of course not. But the risk is baked into any plan that only looks at the first most visible outcome. It mistakes a single symptom for the entire disease. This kind of thinking is a muscle, one that atrophies without use. Most of us are trained from childhood to be first-order thinkers. What's the answer to question 7 on the test? What's the quickest way to stop the baby from crying? What's the fastest route to work? We are rewarded for speed and simple answers. Second-order thinking is slower. It's complex. It requires you to hold conflicting ideas in your head at the same time. It forces you to consider that your good intentions might pave a road to hell. Imagine you're offered a new job. The first order analysis is easy. The pay is 20% higher, the title is better. You accept, but the second order thinker asks, and then what? The new office is an extra 45 minutes away in traffic. Each way, that's 90 minutes a day, 7.5 hours a week. That's an entire workday spent in a car. That's time you are not spending with your family, at the gym, or sleeping. And then what? The higher stress from the commute and the new responsibilities leads to poor sleep. You start eating fast food because you're too tired to cook. Your health declines. The extra money you're earning now goes toward medical bills and convenient, unhealthy food. You bought a bigger cage. The bars are gilded. And then what? The skills you're learning at this new high-paying job are hyper-specific to a legacy industry. In 5 years, they could be automated or made obsolete. You're climbing a ladder that might be leaning against a wall that's about to be demolished. You can see the dilemma. Thinking this way can be paralyzing. If every decision has a chain of potentially catastrophic consequences, the safest move seems to be no move at all. You stay in the job you dislike because you can't predict the 10-year outcome of leaving. You avoid the relationship because you can imagine 100 ways it might end badly. This is the dark side of second-order thinking. It can become a sophisticated excuse for cowardice, dressed up as wisdom. A life spent avoiding all potential negative second-order effects is a life of stagnation. You've avoided the traps, but you've also avoided the treasure. And yet, the other side has its own blind spot. The people who dismiss this analysis as overthinking are the ones who pilot their ships directly into the iceberg because the first 5 miles of the journey were so pleasant. So what's the escape? The problem is seeing the world as a simple chain of dominoes. A causes B, which causes C. The real world is a web, a feedback loop, a system. The goal of higher order thinking isn't to predict the future perfectly. That's impossible. The goal is to understand the system that you're operating in, to see the rules of the game. Let's go back to the Cobra problem. A first-order thinker sees too many snakes and says, let's kill them. A second-order thinker asks, and then what? And might predict the Cobra farming. A systems thinker asks a different question. What is the system that is currently regulating the Cobra population, and how is my intervention going to change the structure of that system? They recognize that the bounty introduces a new economic incentive into an ecological system. It doesn't just subtract snakes, it adds money. And money changes everything. It reshapes behavior. The same applies to rent control. The system isn't just landlords and tenants. It's a complex interplay of construction costs, zoning laws, interest rates, migration patterns, and maintenance incentives. Capping one variable, rent, without understanding how it connects to all the others, guarantees unintended consequences. It's like trying to fix a watch by holding one of the gears in place with your thumb. You haven't fixed the watch, you've just found a new way to break it. This is a powerful frame. But critics of this position have a very sharp, very real objection. A person is drowning. The systems thinker stands at the edge of the pool, contemplating the fluid dynamics and the social factors that led to this moment. The first-order thinker throws them a life raft. When the house is on fire, you don't redesign the city's building codes. You grab a bucket of water. Sometimes, the immediate direct action is the only responsible choice. The patient is bleeding out on the table. You don't have time for a 5-year study on the systemic causes of knife crime. You have to stop the bleeding. Now. And they are right. There is a place for decisive, first-order action. The trick is knowing the difference between a crisis and a condition, between a house that is on fire and a house that was built with faulty wiring that makes it catch fire every 6 months. Second-order thinking is the tool that helps you tell the difference. It's the diagnostic that separates the acute injury from the chronic disease. Ignoring it means you spend your life running from fire to fire, a hero in your own mind, never realizing you're the one leaving the faulty wiring in your wake. The first-order thinker is playing checkers. Every piece moves the same way. The board is flat. The goal is obvious. The second-order thinker is playing chess. They are thinking about position, about control of the center, about how a move made now will set up a trap 3 turns later. They see the same board, but understand a deeper game is being played on it. The systems thinker is in the casino. They might play a hand of poker or a round of blackjack, but they know the real game is the one played against the house. They understand that over time, the rules of the house ensure the casino always wins. So they don't just think about their hand, they think about the rules of the table, and sometimes they choose to play a different game entirely. So where does this leave us? We live in a world that relentlessly celebrates and rewards first-order thinking. Quick fixes, simple answers, decisive action. We're told to move fast and break things. But the things we are breaking are often complex, fragile systems that we depend on. Systems of housing, of ecology, of social trust. We create Cobra Effects every day, then congratulate ourselves on our decisiveness. Thinking about the next step and the step after that is a radical act. It is an act of responsibility. It is slow. It is difficult. It offers no easy victories and no simple villains. It forces you to admit that your solution might be part of the problem. But when you're faced with a genuine crisis, a true emergency where lives are on the line and time is running out, is this slow, deliberate analysis a virtue? Or is it a fatal form of hesitation? Is the person demanding a look at the second-order consequences a wise counselor or a coward afraid to act? So what do you think? When the fire alarm is ringing, who do you listen to? The person with the bucket of water or the person with the building's blueprints? Where do you draw the line?